Tutaataaganya mu mpeereza yaffe okukutuusaako ebyakagwawo. Happening now.
Are non-Ugandans, mainly East Africans. The 30 from Kenya and from Tanzania, and 2 from Burundi, and then a Canadian, some Chinese, and some Indians, or an Indian. Nobody has died from the corona. Even the ones who had been sick, the majority of them have been discharged from the hospital in Entebbe, the hospital in Mulago, Masaka, Ajumani, and Hoima. And the others who are not yet discharged are doing well. There was a rumor that a Kenyan driver who died in Lachor in Gulu died from corona. It's not true. He had other medical issues which are clear, and he was tested. He was negative for corona. So nobody has died from corona here in Uganda yet. However, today is the day of labor. It is not the day of corona. Corona, we shall talk about it early next week, because I will be briefing you. The onset of corona has challenged leaders in the world. Leaders normally like to lead when things are easy. However, when things are difficult, then we can. So there's been a lot of panic because of this virus. And this virus actually has shaken up the whole world. It has shaken up the whole world, and there's been a lot of panic. However, I'm not part of that panic. I'm not part of it, and I'm not pessimistic in any way. There are those who are very pessimistic. Things are going to collapse. I don't know what. I don't believe that. I'm not part of that, and I'm glad. That's why I'm not reading the prepared speech. There was a prepared speech, which was, so I said no. I've got my head on my shoulders. I will talk to the workers myself, not relay what other people think, but what I think. Now, the big challenge we have is now not only the health, which we are struggling with, but the economy, and that's where workers come in. Now, what the NRM has believed for a long time, right from the 1960s, is that there are really 2 types of economies. There is what I would call real economy. Economy for survival and for livelihood. The economy that people need in order to survive and to live a good life. This is one type of economy. Then there is the economy of pleasure and leisure. If I was to put it in Nyankwere, I would say there is the economy of okubaho, to survive, and the economy of omwiguto, when you are satisfied and you want to have pleasure. Now, the big mistake of some of our actors here in Uganda, for sure, maybe in other parts of the world, has been not to understand this, to understand that there is the economy for real survival and livelihood, and the economy for leisure and pleasure. Now, the economy, real economy for livelihood and survival has 9 sectors. Sector 1, food. Food. To produce food and process it. So all those activities involved in food production, in transporting it, in processing it, are very crucial for the survival of human beings. The second sector is clothing. Clothing. Once you deal with food, the next need you need to deal with is clothing, because people can't go naked. They need clothes. The third need is shelter. Shelter, where to be. A house where to live. The fourth one is medicine. Medicine. If I am sick, how do I get treated? The fifth one is defense, security. The spears, the arrows, the shields, which our people used to use to protect themselves. But of course today we are talking about new types of spears, new types of, we're not talking about the other old ones. So these 5 are the basic human needs. Food, clothing, shelter, medicine, and security. But you can't get these 5 unless you do something else. That's what gives you the 6th sector. And this is infrastructure. How will you process food if you don't have electricity? How will you transport it if you don't have roads and you don't have the railway? How will you have factories if you don't have piped water? Because you need piped water to clean those factories. Telephones now have become important as a way of communication. In the olden days, in Ntungamo, I could stand somewhere near Kajuriga and shout, Iwe! I would call, and the people there would hear me. That one can no longer work. We shout through the phones. That's how we talk. That's how we communicate. So that is the 6th sector, which is very crucial. The 6th need, the utilities that enable the other 5 sectors that deal with the other 5 needs to operate. But number 7, people must be healthy. Yes, I've talked about medicine as a need number 4, but you can have medicine, but you don't have the infrastructure to dispense it. So you need the infrastructure of health, the health centers, that network of how you and the employees. You need the personnel to deal with health, and you need the network to deal with health. So that is crucial area number 7. Number 8 is education. Because to do all the other things we are talking about, to grow the food, to process it, you need education, educated people. And the education gives you the literacy, the ability to read and write, the numeracy, to count, the skills to do things, skills, and intellectuality, to be highly knowledgeable and able to deal with big problems. But originally I had thought about these 8, but later on when I interacted with other people, they pointed out something different, something additional. They said, but how do you deal with corruption? The only way you deal with corruption, apart from taking people to Chankwanzi, is to deal with the spiritual side. The spiritual side. The spiritual side to sensitize people, and they know that they are not only accountable to man here, but they are accountable to God. So this is need number 9. Food, clothing, shelter, medicine, security, infrastructure, education, health network, and spirituality. If you have these, you can survive and even thrive. Even thrive. Now the problem, but which the other economy? The other economy which people are crying about now is the economy of pleasure and leisure. One of my daughters had abandoned me with my cows and gone into tourism in Bwindi there with the Bafumbira. This is a new activity for the Basita, for my clan, not to be in cows or crops, and you go to take people to see wild animals. Okay, this is new, but if it can bring some money, all right. But if it can't, I'm not worried, I go back to my cows. So therefore, some of these sectors like tourism, like hotels, like entertainment, bars, sports, I'm a sportsman, but if the football matches are cancelled, I will not die, I will wait until they come. Music, dancing, these are really economies of leisure and pleasure. Now, the good fortune, and that's why I want you all to focus, is that the other type of economy, the real economy, the economy of survival and livelihood, is not so vulnerable, is not so vulnerable, is not so sensitive. Because the other economies, tourism, one incident of a terrorist throwing a bomb, the terrorists cancel. So, oh, there's a danger of terrorism. Sometimes the governments, especially the Western governments, are fond of undermining our economies. They give advisory. We think it is not safe to go to Uganda. Then the cancelling the bookings are cancelled. And as you have seen, with this virus now, travel became impossible, became a source of danger, and people had to. Even if we had not banned the travel, I'm sure people themselves were going to stop traveling by themselves because they were afraid. They were afraid. So, while the real economy, but for food, whether there is war, whether there is an epidemic, food will be needed. And sometimes it will be needed even more than when you had no problem. So therefore, Ugandans, I would like to reorient your thinking. And that's what I've been telling the ministers. If you look at these sectors, there's a lot of money which we have been either not getting or we have been losing to the outside. And jobs. If you start with the food sector and you were to look at the imports of Uganda, Uganda is still importing animal feeds. Why should Uganda import animal feeds? Animal feeds are from chachu. Chachu is from maize. We have a lot of maize. We don't know where to sell it. The other time the prices had to collapse. But yet we are importing animal feeds. So let that gap be finished. No more importing of animal feeds. Let our private sector, assisted by the UDB, Uganda Development Bank, go into that area and make sure no importation of animal feeds. How much money will that save us? And how many jobs will it create? This is what I'm telling you now to analyze. Then you come to sugar. We have been having a surplus of sugar. The Basoga we are crying with ebikado. Ebikado bingi kamara biriyeyo ebusoga. Ebikado bitiyeime. The sugar canes are there. But then when you look into the import figures of Uganda, Uganda is importing sugar, what they call industrial grade sugar. This is the sugar for putting in Coca-Cola. Uganda, East Africa don't make sugar for putting in Coca-Cola. The only sugar they are making is this one of Kachai. And when I looked at the figures, that was taking like $30 million from our foreign exchange earning. It's going to buy the more refined sugar, which is used in Coca-Cola. We have got a factory of medicines at Rizira called Cipra, quality chemicals. They use sugar, what they call pharmaceutical grade sugar, the one which can be used in some of the medicines, like the syrups for children medicine, need sugar. But that sugar is not here. They must import it from India and from China. And that's why the tablets are still expensive, because they are importing that industrial pharmaceutical grade sugar from outside. So on the side of food, there's a lot of potential for growing more food and processing it and consuming import substitution, but also export to other countries. Like, for instance, the milk. The Banyankore had started interfering with my work. The other time I went there and I found, oh, milk. I said, what are you saying about milk? Amategaito. You are milk. They were quarreling with my Indians. The Indians I brought from I don't know where. I brought them. They were quarreling with them. So why do you quarrel with my Indians without telling me first? You don't know the problems of this world. To what Chariao, when we were still there, because of the milk we have encouraged to increase, there's so much milk now. Milk had gone from 200 million liters a year to 2.6 billion. Oh, when the rains came, Kenya said they no longer wanted to import our milk because they had more milk. And the milk was threatening to have no market. But fortunately, one of my Indians whom I had brought, for him, he was not processing milk for drinking, either as fresh milk or as liquid milk, not even as powdered milk. For him, he was getting a protein called casein out of milk, which they use for baby foods, for food supplements, for medicine. So that man is taking much of the milk now. It's going to the US. You look at cassava and even maize. Some of the things you put in the medicines, like the tablets, is what they call industrial grade starch. Starch which can be used in making tablets. That is from cassava. So, if you go on the subject of food, I have written a document here. There is an endless list of what you can do with food in terms of industry, which can bring in more money and create jobs. Then you go now to clothing. We are importing clothes, big number of clothes. Even these curtains here, these were imported from China. If you look at what the honorable people here are wearing, these are all market of imports, except myself. Except for the trousers, but I couldn't come here without trousers. So but for the shirt, at least I'm not part of the group. If you look at the figures for the imports, it's quite a lot of money for clothes. And then all the other things, the hospital linen, what have you. So, let us stop imports of clothes, support import substitution, and also exports in Africa. The global demand for clothes is very huge. I think it's like $900 billion or something like that. They are all in my document here. So from the clothes, you go to the shelter. I think the shelter we are doing well already. We are already making our own cement. We are not importing cement anymore, which is good. We make some mitayimbwa. The other time I went to Moroto to open a marbles factory, very big marbles factory. But there are still some types of mitayimbwa which you cannot use, you cannot make using recycled steel, because we are still using scrap metal to make mitayimbwa. These dams and the big houses like this one will not accept that steel. So we are going to develop our steel industry from Obutare, from the iron ore, to be able to make fresh steel. But also not only do that, but alloy it, mix it with other minerals, which are now being squandered, being exported, nickel, we have them here, but people are not using them. So that sector will create a lot of jobs. Then you go to medicine. We are importing a lot of the medicine. Tablets, what have you, injectables, vaccines. This is a lot of money and jobs, and we are going to make them here. We are going to support groups like Quality Chemicals, like this one, which they are using for the corona, hydroxy